I suggest we start by exchanging current updates. Let's begin with Sergei Sergeyevich Kravtsov. Sergei Sergeyevich, how is the preparation for the new school year going? There is very little time left.
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, the school education system is ready for the new academic year. Under the chairmanship of Dmitry Nikolaevich, we held a conference call with all the regions. All scheduled activities have been completed on time. We paid special attention to preparations for September 1st in the border regions and the regions that have reunited with Russia. Security measures are a top priority. In total, almost 18 million school children will be attending classes, including 1.5 million first graders. 43 new schools will open. After major renovations, 670 schools, 41 kindergartens and 22 colleges will resume operations. Your directive regarding construction and major renovations is being fulfilled on time, even ahead of schedule. You set the goal to build 1,300 schools. 377 more have been commissioned, a total of 1,677. This is more than 1 million new places for our school children. Among the important trends, according to the results of last academic year's Unified State Exam, there has been a significant increase in the number of students taking advanced mathematics, up by 12%, physics by 10%, and chemistry, biology, and computer science also saw an average increase of about 6% more students choosing these subjects. We will continue to support interest in natural science subjects, and we are exceeding the government plan for the development of natural science education. On September 1st, our order on unified federal programs will come into force. This same order synchronized the educational programs and exam assignments, the basic state exam and the unified state exam. You mentioned this in your address. Your directive has been fulfilled. With this same order, we introduced calendar-based lesson planning. We have clearly established how many hours should be allocated to the study of each subject in each grade. The workload for students, as well as the time for quizzes and tests, has also been systematized. These requirements have been coordinated with Rospotrebnadzor. In the upcoming academic year, we are further developing the educational system, the very thing you mentioned, starting from kindergartens. But here we are proceeding very carefully. We have selected 20 pilot regions. Together with psychologists and educators, we will work out all the approaches so that later we can expand them across the whole country. We have fulfilled your directive and expanded the extracurricular reading list for students with works of patriotic content, and have also approved a list of domestic films for extracurricular and family viewing. The reading list, in particular, now includes works about the special military operation, such as Oleg Roy's Shadows of Donbass, Little Stories of a Big War, Mikhail Fedorov's Heroes of the SMO, Symbols of Russian Courage, and others. Starting from the new academic year, a large-scale retraining program for history teachers will be launched. You have met with the authors of the textbook, and starting from September 1st, 2026, all schools in our country will switch to unified textbooks on national history and social studies. That is why retraining of teachers has been planned. Next, we are improving the system of remuneration for educators. This is under special supervision, and I would like to note the increase in the prestige of pedagogical education. Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, the year before last, there were 10 applicants per spot in the competition, and this year there are 12 applicants per spot for pedagogical specialties. Even in Soviet times, there was never such competition. And in conclusion, dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, allow me to speak about the outstanding achievements of our stars, our pride. This year, the national teams participated in 6 international Olympiads. As a result, all 29 of our students won medals. Among them, there are 20 gold medals. We see that the winners are not only from Moscow and St. Petersburg, but also from Tatarstan, Bashkortostan, the Moscow and Chelyabinsk regions, Novosibirsk, Samara, Kirov, Kaliningrad, Primorye, and the Altai territory. Behind these achievements lies the hard work of teachers, the support of parents, and most importantly, the efforts and desire for knowledge. And to illustrate the uniqueness of our students, let me give a vivid example. Ivan Chasovsky from the city of Khimki in the Moscow region became the absolute winner of the Mathematics Olympiad in Australia, the best in the world, earning the maximum possible score. So, they conducted an experiment right at the Olympiad, and the problems were solved by artificial intelligence. Well, our student Ivan scored the maximum 42 points, while the artificial intelligence got only 13. Vladimir Vladimirovich, allow me to suggest organizing a meeting between you and the winners. The kids dream about this. And taking this opportunity, I want to once again thank the teachers and educators for their work and congratulate everyone on the start of the new school year.
The start of the school year is coming soon, thank God. How do you think our Congress went?
Vladimir Vladimirovich, I actually wanted to inform you about that. It was truly a historic event because the first Congress was in 1925, 100 years ago. And in our time, this was the first all-Russian Pedagogical Congress. It brought together more than 1,500 experts and educators. There, Andrei Alexandrovich Fursenko, on your behalf, read out your greeting, and the words that resonated very well with everyone were what you said. It is absolutely necessary to take into account the best traditions of the pre-revolutionary Soviet and modern Russian schools. And it was precisely in this direction that an exhibition was organized at the All-Russian Center, Russia, which was dedicated to all the historical stages of development. And at the end there, the main points of the new strategy, which is now being discussed throughout the entire country on your instructions, were presented as the quintessence. Some even call it the constitution in the field of education. It is entirely compiled based on all the proposals that have come from teachers and the Russian community. Just as you taught us about feedback, we gathered everything and discussed it all with Mikhail Vladimirovich during the strategy sessions. And, as we agreed, a document has been prepared based on all these materials. We will finalize it together with the presidential administration, with Andrei Alexandrovich, so that by Teachers' Day we can prepare a draft of your decree approving this text. And just one more word about patriotic education, which Sergei Sergeyevich mentioned. So, since last year we have introduced the position of advisor to the principal on educational matters, and we are seeing a very significant effect from this initiative. 83% of our students want to live and work in Russia. If we look at the data for 2022, that's an increase of 11 percentage points. This is definitely the result of this work. 97% of students are proud to live in our country. The increase here is even greater, over 37 percentage points. So we are seeing a good result from the implementation of this project. The minister reported on the readiness of the general and vocational education system for the new academic year. As for higher education, this year we have 5 million students who will attend 1,200 universities across the country. And the most popular fields now, it's evened out, are engineering, medicine, and education. About 4 million applications have been submitted so far, and more than 80% of them were submitted through the government services portal. University admissions are now online. This year, following your instructions, special attention has been given to universities in border and new regions. And of course, the key task now is to prepare university infrastructure for the new academic year. By autumn, it is planned to commission 573 facilities in the higher education system where major renovations have been completed. And as per your instructions, unprecedented investments in educational infrastructure are being actively implemented. This is your world-class campus project. We have 25 selected so far, and by the end of the year, we will select up to 40. Campuses are already beginning to be commissioned. In fact, in the coming days, we are opening an academic building of the Novosibirsk State University campus in Nizhny Novgorod. 18 buildings, including the IT campus Neymar. They will be used for the World Youth Festival as a legacy of your festival that was held in Sochi. And why am I mentioning this? Because on your instructions in 2026, an international youth festival will be held in Krasnoyarsk, which will be based at Krasnoyarsk State University. And this very infrastructure will be used by the campus as a legacy. Thank you. Excellent. Our bustling summer tourist season is gradually coming to its conclusion. So how exactly do you assess its overall performance? And of course, Minister Foch, about the new classification system. Sorry.
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, dear colleagues, we have the summer tourist season. From May to September, we are forecasting 48 million trips across the country. This is an increase of 8% compared to last year. And as for May and June, the statistics for July should be available soon. We see that there were 16.5 million, which is a 10% increase. So overall, we are reaching these numbers. And this is a very good growth. The leaders in popularity are, as usual, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Tatarstan, of course, the Black Sea coast, Crimea, with an 11% increase. Despite some transportation difficulties, we understand. Krasnodar Krai, despite the situation in Anapa and also the limited operation of airports, is also showing growth. It's a small growth, but still growth. We expect that the opening of the airport in Gelendzhik will now improve the numbers. Right by the end of the season, July, August, September. Adygia, Karachay-Cherkessia, Nizhny Novgorod and Tver regions are showing impressive growth in tourist trips. More and more often, foreign tourists are also traveling around our country. For example, this June, compared to last June, we have an increase of 18%. So that's a noticeable...
That's significant.
Significant, yes. And this is primarily due to the measures that were taken to simplify the visa regime with your direct support. All these meetings with our foreign colleagues and the decisions we've made have also led to an increase in the number of direct flights with friendly countries, in addition to the visa facilitation. There's also the Discover Russia program to promote Russian tourism abroad, which we launched last year. All of this is what produces these results. The updated measures of the National Industry Project to support tourism have also been fully implemented. This year, with your support, the government has decided to increase the limits of the preferential loan program. As of today, we have 78,000 hotel rooms either already under construction or in the design phase. That's 347 new hotels, of which 28, totaling 5,000 rooms, have already been opened.
We understand that their numbers will continue to grow steadily. Moreover, we are also developing large investment projects related to new points of attraction, including 21 water parks currently in progress. Real investment projects where banks have made decisions that we support, 16 ski resorts and 4 amusement parks. In other words, we are simultaneously creating a powerful new sector. The 5 Nurias of Legbekal project is entering its active phase. We have supplemented it with a project in Balaklava and have already started creating infrastructure in Dagestan and Buryatia. In other words, the most complex part of the project phase is coming to an end. And now, more and more, we are moving into the construction phase. A unified subsidy has been allocated to the regions, as well as funds for the creation of modular hotels. This program has also proven itself. While expanding the number of rooms, we are also addressing the quality of tourist services both in new and existing hotels. To this end, a reform of the accommodation classification system has been launched. The goal is for everyone who hosts tourists
in our country to comply with the requirements established by law. And confirmation of this is their inclusion in the Unified National Register of Classified Accommodation Facilities. Rosakreditacija has been tasked with maintaining this register. And it is precisely on the basis of this register that all travel aggregators, booking systems, and so on will operate. So in other words, this will serve as a real verification. What is the difference with the new classification system? Previously, only hotels underwent this process. Now, recreation centers and campgrounds are also required to go through classification. There are now many new types of accommodation. Not all of them are included yet. Also, sanatoriums are automatically added to the new register after obtaining a medical license, so they don't have to go through the process twice. We include them right away. The procedure itself has also changed now. It now consists of 2 stages. The first stage is self-assessment, where all accommodation facilities enter their own information into the register. This is a mandatory stage that must be completed by September 1st. At the same time, the procedure is as simple as possible and free of charge. You just need to log into the system on the Rosakreditacija website, fill in information about the number of rooms, infrastructure, services, and confirm this data with a photograph. Go somewhere, take a photo. After a minimal technical check, this information will be published in the register. That's it. Businesses confirm that the procedure is clear and fast. For example, a hotel with up to 100 rooms can complete it in an hour. So there's really nothing complicated here. The second stage is mandatory only if the accommodation facility is applying for so-called stars. In other words, if they want to claim a higher level of service and so on. For this, the business must involve special classification organizations. Last year, we raised the requirements for such organizations, introduced personal responsibility for experts assigning stars, basically to eliminate fake documents, so to speak. That's it. So we made it so that the evaluation can be trusted. We also clarified the requirements for new accommodation facilities, set standards, standardized hotels, and added requirements related to people with limited mobility so that everything would be up to modern standards. Since the beginning of the year, almost 18,000 accommodation facilities have already undergone self-assessment, and about 6,000 of them are new properties, either newly built or, for example, 3,500 are those that have come out of the shadows. In other words, we have also legalized another part of the industry. According to Rosakreditacija, as of today, about a quarter of the accommodation facilities from the old registries and old lists have not yet undergone the self-assessment procedure. We understand that this may not be relevant for all of them, because some are closing for renovations and therefore are not in a hurry. Some may have even changed their line of business altogether, but we continue to work with all the other participants on an ongoing basis. Throughout the summer, we sent step-by-step instructions to market participants and regions, held webinars around the clock, and call centers and technical support centers are also operating. And now, of course, activity has increased. If at the end of July we had 1,500 applications per week, now it's already over 5,000. That's why we are urging everyone, there are only a few days left, for all accommodation providers to come and complete these procedures. Among the leading regions in passing the self-assessment are Zaporizhzhia, Magadan, Novgorod and Pskov regions, as well as the Altai Republic. There, the rate is already over 90%. So while they've really done a great job, there are a number of regions that need to speed up, but they all know which ones they are. Just this morning, the governors sent text messages. Everyone clearly understands how many, where and how, so everything is under control. So I think we'll manage. But it's important for businesses to understand that if they don't complete the self-assessment by September 1st, the classification registry will show a suspended status, which means tour aggregators won't be able to list them in their systems, and accordingly bookings won't be possible. Well, in other words, businesses understand this. That's it. The regions will also be checking who is operating without classification. We set a requirement for them so that, well, basically, the requirements would be the same for the entire market, so that no one could avoid it. That's it. But of course, at the initial stage, there will be instructions and clarifications, but starting from September 6th, it will also be possible to impose fines. But that's not the main goal. It's more of a last resort. So once again, since the deadline is approaching, I urge all managers and owners of hotels, resorts and campgrounds, basically everyone who hasn't yet completed this procedure, to do so as soon as possible. Thank you for your attention.
All right. I sincerely hope that those concerned individuals will indeed hear your important message. The second half of our summer season was exceptionally and uncharacteristically hot. That's quite a rare occurrence for the geographical region of Russia. Consequently, we faced significant peak loads on the power distribution system. How did the overall power grid really perform?
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, in accordance with your instructions, which you gave following last year's peak summer loads, a whole range of measures was carried out together with all interested parties. First of all, in addition to the autumn-winter preparation period, we have now introduced a spring-summer period as well, because it has become absolutely essential. Within this spring-summer period, we carried out the following measures. Additional inspections of the entire power grid were conducted, including the use of thermal imaging cameras, and based on the results, unscheduled technical maintenance and repairs of power equipment were performed. Carrying out repair work during these peak load periods has been ruled out so that all available capacity can be directed to the economy. Additional reserves of backup and mobile power sources have been deployed at critical infrastructure sites. Electronic systems for simulating emergency situations have been implemented. STSO, systemically important real network organizations, which, following your directive, were established by law last year. Together with the regions, we have tested various operating modes of the distribution networks and, among other things, prepared an action plan in case any particular program fails due to an emergency. The share of renewable energy sources and electricity generation during peak hours has been increased. Since the beginning of this year, peak loads have once again been recorded. During this autumn-winter period, peak loads were higher than in the previous summer period. And now, in this summer period, they are higher than in the winter period. We are seeing a constant increase in peak loads. In the southern power system, there is a steady increase of 1%, while in the eastern power system, it is plus 5%. During record loads caused by abnormal heat, with the average daily temperature reaching 28 degrees and high tourist activity, on July 30th, the southern power system hit another peak, 21,245 megawatts. This exceeded the summer figures of last year and the winter period.
Thanks to the work carried out in advance, Russia's power system confidently handled these peak loads, withstood them, and neither the population nor our industry experienced any problems related to these peak loads, continuing to operate as usual. In regions with outpacing demand growth, systematic work is underway to increase capacity and develop the grid infrastructure. This year, by the end of the year, we plan to commission 1 gigawatt, 600 megawatts of new capacity. Most of this will be related to renewable energy sources. Mainly, this will be in the Rostov region, Kuban, Crimea, and the Far East. A plan for the modernization of key grid nodes has been approved for 2025-2027. The plan includes the construction of distributed substations, backup lines, and the implementation of energy storage systems with a capacity of 100 megawatts. By the end of this year, that's 100 megawatts in Crimea and 250 megawatts in the Krasnodar region. The cost per kilowatt hour over the entire life cycle is now our main parameter. This is our responsibility to all future generations. It is very important to us at what cost per kilowatt hour we will pass this on to our children and grandchildren, for whom we are working now. The Ministry of Energy is implementing a comprehensive set of measures to optimize the cost of electricity production and transmission, namely, A new regulatory and legal framework is being developed, unified standards are being introduced, standard design and technical solutions are being implemented, modern management models are being adopted in construction organization, new industry-specific financial instruments are being created, and there is an industry-wide demand for equipment and innovation. And together with the Ministry of Industry and Trade, we are forming the industry order not just for 1 or 2 years, but in detail for 1 6-year period, less detailed for the second 6-year period, and as general approaches for the third 6-year period. In other words, we are trying to create a plan for 18 years, covering 3 6-year cycles ahead. Additionally, we are implementing mechanisms such as early capacity supply contracts, targeted financing by anchor consumers, and regulatory agreements for the development of trunk networks. The main goal is to ensure transparency and manageability of pricing at every stage of the life cycle of power industry facilities. Now, for any of our technological or managerial decisions, we consider how it will affect the future cost of a kilowatt hour, and we make our decisions based on that. In conclusion, I would like to once again emphasize that Russia's energy system is demonstrating its readiness to handle all peak loads, and our citizens and our industry can be confident that we will fully ensure the passage of these peak loads, and there will be no harm to the work or leisure of our people.
Is the extensive preparation for the upcoming winter season proceeding exactly as planned?
And now, yes, having already gone through the summer period, this is how we do it. When we finish the winter period, we start preparing for the summer period. Now we have completed the summer period and are fully preparing for the winter period, meaning that starting from September, we will already be entering the winter program.
Regarding the project, Anton Georgievich, is everything going according to plan?
Vladimir Vladimirovich, indeed, today, according to our plans, work is underway to prepare the budget for the next 3 years. Our main priority is to provide financial resources for the national development goals that you set out in your decrees. To achieve the national development goals, the necessary allocations have been provided for financing national projects. We are currently working actively and collaboratively together with various ministries and relevant agencies to meticulously verify the precise budget allocations that are absolutely needed to effectively achieve the ambitious targets of the national projects, which will ultimately ensure the comprehensive fulfillment of the crucial national development goals. We will carefully review the budget in the government in mid-September. We are currently preparing proposals to provide the budget with the necessary financial resources so that all tasks related to fulfilling social obligations to the people and achieving the national development goals are supplied with the required resources. At present, we are working very actively with the agencies, so all tasks will be accomplished in terms of financial support.
Thank you very much. We are constantly having extensive discussions about the insights and perspectives of experts within the government and the central bank regarding the crucial key interest rate, the current state of affairs in various industries, and the overall real sector of the economy. How is it progressing?
Vladimir Vladimirovich, based on the comprehensive results of the past several months, if we specifically talk about the manufacturing industry sector, the significant growth observed was a notable 4.2%. We have a rather cautious optimism regarding the results for the year because there is still time for adjustments. At the beginning of the year, we forecasted a 2.5 to 3% growth in manufacturing. For now, we will continue to remain at this current level. I mean to say that the primary and most significant drivers of economic growth today are indeed transport engineering, radio electronics, pharmaceuticals, and of course the critically important defense industry complex. Considering the current economic climate and the fact that the central bank is now gradually implementing a policy of lowering the key interest rate, this has significant implications for the national budget. Specifically for the budget, this means that each and every 1% that is successfully saved through these measures amounts to a substantial sum, approximately 200 billion rubles, which is a considerable financial impact. And keep in mind that this money will be allocated, including for the purposes that Anton Germanovich just reported on, namely for national projects in priority areas to support the pace of development, the task that you have set for us. And as it continues to steadily decrease even further, I truly think that this significant development will actually accelerate both robust economic growth and provide a much-needed substantial recovery trend for the entire manufacturing sector of industry.
But you are forecasting industrial production growth at what level?
For the manufacturing industry, manufacturing at around 3%, and for industry as a whole, it will be somewhat less, about 2%. At the very least, this matches global economic development.
Yes.
That's the exact figure, indeed.
Yes, please. Yes, indeed, we are currently working very closely with the central bank in terms of shaping budget policy for the next 3 years and monetary policy, since we see that a balanced budget, we are preparing the budget in accordance with the fiscal rule, will serve as a basis for the central bank to ease monetary policy. Indeed, this current year we are observing rather tight and restrictive monetary policy conditions, and yet, despite these challenging circumstances, we fully expect that the overall rate of economic growth will still be at least 1.5%. At least, according to the Ministry of Economic Development's assessment for the current year, a balanced budget will give the central bank more room to ease monetary policy. And this means that credit resources will become more accessible and more resources will appear in various sectors of the economy. Accordingly, next year, this will provide an additional boost to socio-economic development.
Well, you know, there are indeed a lot of important nuances when it comes to effectively ensuring economic growth rates, but overall, of course, I certainly support this particular approach.